Welcome to the Real Talk with Megan podcast, where we have candid conversations about the things that matter most. I'm your host, Megan, and we're going to deep dive into the topic of mental health. Together, we'll work to destigmatize mental health and start conversations. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready for a real and raw conversation about mental health on the Real Talk with Megan podcast.
Well, today we have an amazing episode for you guys. I am here with my new friend from across the ocean, Hadassah, and I would love you to tell my listeners just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump into our topic for the day.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with Megan. I'm Hadassah. I'm a Bulgarian. I live in Bulgaria, but I speak four languages, English one of them. So I'm a Christian author, speaker, poet, and I like to call myself spiritual growth motivator and mentor because this is what I feel is my calling and passion. And I'm a freelance writer too. I write on my blog on thewaybg.com, and I'm the author of 3 books and co-author of 14 more poetry and devotional anthologies. And my newest nonfiction Christian book is called Drawn Near: How Painful Experiences Become the Birthplace of Blessings. And I think it really corresponds very well now with the topic that we are going to discuss with Megan. So stay tuned.
Absolutely. I love that. Man, you've done a lot, like 3 books and 14 like
Mm.
devotional poetry things. I love that. And I love just the heart behind it. And so I'm really excited to jump into our topic today. I know when we were emailing back and forth,
Yes,
the topic of hopelessness to hope
yes.
came up. And man, what a powerful just phrase, hopelessness to
Mhm.
hope. So if you are listening today and you are struggling with not feeling hope, you feel hopeless in whatever your situation may be, this might be the podcast to listen to. It may be something that will bring you some encouragement or some ways to help you along the way from hearing from other people's stories. And so I believe that this deals a lot with your story, correct?
Yes, I had my own episodes, or actually modern episodes with hopelessness, or somebody calls depression, because
Mm,
I think depression and hopelessness coincide a lot. Actually, one of the definitions of depression is a triad of hopelessness, helplessness,
mm,
and also wordlessness. I
mm,
think this describes it very well. And I think every human being, believer or non-believer, uh, have episodes of hopelessness and depression. But of course, some of us perhaps prolonged periods of clinical depression or anxiety. And I think I first encountered hopelessness and depression when I was a teenager, and perhaps a lot of teenagers struggle with this. At this time, I was living in my home country in Bulgaria. Bulgaria was a communist country at this time. I didn't know God, and I was also living in a dysfunctional family.
mm,
These were my circumstances, but most of all, there was an intense internal struggle in myself, and the internal struggle was to feel this discrepancy between what I wanted to think, to feel, and to do, but I felt unable to change myself. So, this inability to think good, to do good, to laugh as I wanted to, hit me really hard. And of course, the quest for meaning and purpose in my life at this time. And all this led to the point that I felt so desperate that I even struggled with suicidal thoughts
mm,
at this time. And I placed an ultimatum, so to say, to the universe because I didn't know God at that time. And it was like for 6 months at least, this desperate cry that if there is God, he should show himself in
mm,
my life, because otherwise I really didn't see any meaning or purpose in my life at that time. And he did show up, I need to say. This was my first answered prayer.
Okay.
Yes, and yeah, in a series of coincidences, I would say, and orchestrated meetings, I was brought for first time by a schoolmate to an evangelical church, where I heard the gospel for first time,
Mm,
and I responded in faith immediately because obviously my heart was already prepared. And yeah, it was really life changing. I
mm,
can't say that from this moment on my life miraculously changed, or
mm,
that internal landscape miraculously changed, because um, of course the renewal of our mind takes time. But what really changed was this feeling of extreme joy and peace, and this knowledge that I have a father who will never abuse me, never control me. This was really like a fountain of life, finding meaning and purpose, and this loving relationship. This definitely changed and moved me from this first round of depression and hopelessness to finding hope for my life and for my future.
yeah, that's wonderful. That's such an incredible story, and I know there's more to it, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, yeah,
We talked even just before we started recording, how even just like mental health and talking about this stuff was like taboo. It was something that we didn't talk about. I know I experienced that growing up. It was very culturally not okay
mhm,
to talk about. And I could imagine that that was very similar. That those were things you didn't talk about, that it's one of those you kind of sweep it under the rug, and that never ends
yes,
well. It's
no,
it's
never,
never the right choice. And so
never,
that's why, we're talking about this today. And I think that's probably why you have written so many things and talked about this so much and sharing your experience, which is incredible, to be able to share that with other people so they don't feel
yes,
alone in this in
yes,
wherever they are. So
yes.
I love you sharing that. So you talked about that was your first kind of bout
Mhm.
of depression.
Yes.
There were some more, weren't they? I think we talked about that a little bit. You had a couple other ones. Do you want to go into those just a little bit, how they played into your life?
Yes, I would like to go a little bit in this next two rounds, I call them, because
Yeah.
they were prolonged periods. The second round of my struggle with hopelessness and depression was a little bit after I married, so in my 30s, let's say like this. And this was connected with my unfulfilled desire to become a mother. So
Mm,
let's say we struggled with this problem in our marriage for at least 5 or 6 years.
okay.
And this inability to become a biological mother definitely
Mhm,
at a certain point of time led to depression. Not even to depression, but also I developed at the peak of it, I guess, an anxiety disorder,
mm,
and for a short period of time, perhaps half a year, to intense panic attacks.
mm,
And at this point of time, I was um, really thinking, how is this possible? I mean, I'm following God,
mm.
I'm believing Him, I'm seeking Him, I'm daily spending time in prayer, in the Word, and everything possible, and this is happening to me. I mean, panic attacks, anxiety
Yeah.
disorder. What I'm doing wrong? I can't understand. So this was an interesting journey, but what this journey taught me is that it was simply an invitation, first to deeper healing
Mm,
of the soul, perhaps also processing traumas from my past, and second, more important, to find and grow my identity and sense of meaning and purpose really in Jesus,
mm,
not in what I have, not what I don't have, not if my desires are met, my longings are met or not met, but really to accept myself as God accepts me where I am. And this was the second round. And then during this round, I thought that this was the most painful thing that I would ever experience in my life. But surprise, surprise, this was not the most painful thing. The third round of depression came after the unexpected death of my husband, unexpected and unexplainable. And I think now that this was really another level and really the heaviest depression that I ever went through.
Yeah.
Why? Because during my first and second rounds of depression, I somehow never doubted God's goodness and His will to heal me and to do good in my life. Now, in this third round of depression, um, the root of my depression or the main struggle under it was already completely different one. This was a trust issue, and this was really questioning and examining my beliefs and my expectations of God. And this was the tool, I would like to say. The depression, the hopelessness was the tool to re-examine my faith, re-examine the foundation of my faith. And this was an extreme challenge, and I'm sure every believer will go through this challenge in different ways.
Yeah.
The challenge to decide to continue to walk by faith and not by sight. Because when we are depressed, when something bad happens in our lives, when we feel anxiety and lose our peace, we naturally want knowledge and understanding. We ask meaning-making questions. We want to know, we look for explanations, because when we think, when we have the explanations, it will be okay. Somehow we will be comforted. We will find comfort and peace. But this, first of all, this is not true. And second of all, I think this is really a big invitation from God to trust Him without this knowing, without these answered questions, without this explanation, and to follow Him on another level of faith, trusting Him and living by faith and not by sight, meaning not by understanding, not by explanation, and not by knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. And that led perfectly into what I was going to go into is like, how did faith play into this? You've kind of talked about the first two and how that played, but this one was a little different. It did. You started to question, you had that doubt, which
Yes,
again, and I've talked to so many people, like that
yes,
doubt doesn't disqualify you from still having faith and
no,
from having a relationship with Jesus. Like God is okay with your questions and
yes.
it's what you do with it. And so when you got to that point, how how did you start to or I guess I should go like, was there a moment that changed, like that
Mm-hmm.
you started to dive into that faith deeper, or was it more of a slow process? Because I know people experience that differently. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be one or the other, but
Ye-
just kind of, was it maybe more of a slower process, or was there one specific moment that really stood out in that?
It was definitely a process. I can't say if it's slow or fast process, but of course there were defining moments in this process, like steps on a stair going upward, so to
Yep.
speak. And I think that uh, a lot in this process depends on us. And by this, I mean on our choices and our decisions. And I will give now an example of what I mean
Yeah.
by giving an example of three defining moments. For example, what helped me really was first, this was a turning point, the decision that I would stop blaming God and stop holding a grudge against Him, so to say. Why? Because I understood, it was clear that uh, the death of my husband created a distance between me and God. Emotional, spiritual distance. I'm talking about this, of course. Emotions are very important.
Yeah.
God wants us to connect emotionally with Him, not just theologically or mentally or whatever. So there was a distance, and by taking this decision, which I'm holding until present, not to hold a grudge against him and not to blame him for the death of my husband. I think this was the opening stone, the step that led to many other steps in my process of healing and re-examining my beliefs. The next moment when I asked him to use my pain for good, so to use my suffering for good, so to give purpose to my pain. Because when we can't find answers, it somehow seems that we are suffering in vain, that
Mm.
our pain is pointless, that it makes no sense to us. And I think this prayer that I prayed, this desire, and of course God answers such prayers, I need to say, yes, was a step ahead in the process. And the next defining moment when I decided, and I needed to decide this many times, so this is kind of a constant
Mhm.
commitment or decision, to that I don't need understanding to trust him. Yeah, I'm
Mm.
searching desperately for understanding, but I simply need to decide I don't need understanding to trust him. I can make this decision every day to walk by faith and not by sight. And I think that everybody of us has this moment in our journeys when somehow we need to transfer our quest for understanding and knowledge to the quest of seeking the Lord as the one who holds all the mysteries. And I think this is also a defining.
Yeah.
Place the other things on a completely different perspective or level.
Yeah. And that's really like just confronting some of those thoughts and beliefs that you had and creating this like just to rethink them, to reframe them.
Yes.
And we see that all the time in the mental health area is like we have to reframe our brain all the time. Um,
Mhm.
and it is
Yes.
a constant thing, like you said, like those things don't end. Just as like
Mhm.
if we're trying to forgive someone, like you don't just forgive them once
Yes.
and it's done. It's
No.
a constant thing. So why would we think anything else would be different? Like these are constant choices we have to make. That
Yes.
you said that so beautifully. Just to that the way that you kind of repurposed what you were going through, that pain that you were going through. And you knew, like, even though you didn't understand, which is so key, even though we don't understand why we're going through the pain
Mhm.
or why a situation is happening like it is, and we may
Yes.
never have those answers, even though we want them,
Yes.
because we want everything to be laid out in
Yes.
front of us.
Mhm.
Even
Yes.
though we don't have those, like, we can still trust in God. We can still have faith in him
Yes.
because he
Yes.
is faithful. He
Yes.
is true. And so to
Definitely.
reframe your brain is so important, when it comes to this,
Yes.
and sometimes it takes a lot more effort. And then it becomes,
Mhm.
would you say, because I've seen this in my own life, like, it becomes
Yes.
more of a habit. Like, it comes almost second
Yes.
nature to start thinking that way.
Definitely.
Is there
Yes.
anything
Yes.
like maybe you told yourself to help with reframing your thought process to make that more of a habit, that's something that just comes naturally, where you don't have to, really make that choice. You're doing that more naturally.
Yes, I think I'm simply following my spiritual practices, routines
Yeah.
that were formed years and I would say decades ago, and actually this helped me a
Mm.
lot because even when I felt I'm falling apart and I don't have the strength really to do anything or really to pray or to read
Mhm.
whatever, simply this habit, like a backbone, was constantly present in my life. At least I have this morning routine of reading in the Word and spending some time journaling. Journaling helped me
Yeah.
a lot because this helped me processing my thoughts, my feelings. Also, sometimes by writing, things are getting clearer.
Mm.
Things that I can't express well or I couldn't express well, and yeah, journaling, and then praying. And even, yeah, prayer is a discipline, an art in itself. And there's so many different kinds of prayer can be also without words.
Mm.
The Lord hears our cries, our wordless cries, and also the Spirit
Mhm.
intercedes in us. So sometimes I only can cry in his presence, nothing else,
Yeah.
or sob in his presence, but he hears this. And I think these practices are so like second nature,
Mhm.
then they really help me even when I didn't want to, or didn't feel that I want
Mhm.
to do this or to come to God, this simply helped me because, as I said, this is the main decision when we are in pain. Will we pull back? Will we turn our backs to the Lord,
Mm.
or will we draw closer to Him? And this is helping because these practices are creating or make it easier for us to say, I don't have nobody except the Lord. To whom shall I go?
Yeah.
He's the only one. So even in my pain, with my pain, I'm still deciding to go to Him because I know He's also the healer. And at the end, He's really the one I want, and I will always want. As so beautifully said in one of my favorite psalms, He's my portion forever. He's my strength and my portion forever. My heart may fail, my flesh may fail, it will fail surely, but He remains my strength and my portion forever. And He is the one I want still,
Yeah.
despite everything.
Yeah, he is our
Yeah.
comforter, our counselor. And, one way that I think about praying that simplifies it, because some people feel like, I don't know how to pray. Like, I feel like it has to be this like liturgical thing, which it can. It can definitely be
Yes.
that. And those are
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes, it can.
But
Yeah.
it can also
Mhm.
just be like the same way that you would go and talk to someone and share what you're feeling and what is going on in your life.
Exactly.
Is exactly what prayer can be, is just
Exactly.
sharing
Exactly.
with what's going on. Like, he wants your transparency. So
Yes. Most
there has
so.
been many times that I'm like driving in the car and I'm pretty sure people are probably like, what is happening with her? Because me and God are having some conversations, like something in life is, a struggle. And I'm going to let them know
Yes.
it's not out of anger. It's out of like the need to release that,
The
to
need.
say those things
Yes.
out loud sometimes. And it may look a little strange to
Yes.
be in your car and saying those things out loud, but man, I've had some of the most amazing moments with God in my car,
Mhm.
praying those things out
I believe this.
and
Yes.
and just being able to get it out, and I feel so much better after that. It's the same reason why I
Yes.
tell people all the time, I'm like, "Yes, talking to God, praying, like, it's amazing, and you need to do that." And also find someone to help walk alongside you, like,
Yes.
to
Do
share that
so.
with as
Yes.
well, because that's why I got into counseling and doing that, is because I wanna be there for
Yes.
other people, because I know how important just talking it out can be.
Yes.
And so
Absolutely.
it's
Yes.
one of those things that I'm just like, I will say that until I have no breath left, is like, talk to somebody. I think I say it every podcast episode.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
but I
Yes.
I think you kinda mentioned one little piece of, like, writing
Mhm.
things down. You're able to kinda see things from a different
Mhm.
perspective, and that's so important.
Yes.
But when you look back through your
Mhm.
life, has there been
Yes.
any, like, you see now, maybe at one time it
Mhm.
was a really dark moment, or a moment that you could never have seen in that time, like, there could have been something good come out of it, but maybe like an unexpected gift or a lesson that came
Mhm.
out from that season of hopelessness that brought you into hope.
Yeah, there are a lot of things coming to mind, but just before that, I want to say
Yeah.
about prayer. I think this is important.
Yeah.
I think it will make it a lot of easier when we approach prayer, when we think and believe that God is really our safest person. He's the
Yes.
safest person ever.
Yep.
So we can really be our true selves. We can show everything in us, our ugly, our what we are ashamed of, what we don't even to confess to ourselves. Because first he already knows it.
Mhm.
He knows us
Yep.
inside out. And second, he loves us unconditionally. He has already seen from the beginning till the end. Nothing will change his opinion about us. And he uh, God in comparison to us, doesn't have any illusions to lose
Mm,
about us. We are losing our illusions about
mm,
him and gaining more and more reality. But he doesn't have any illusions. He knows us. So
mhm,
we can be really perfectly safe. Because I think when people are struggling with depression and hopelessness, as you already mentioned, it's crucial to find safe people, safe environment
yes.
to talk to, to find empathic listeners. And of course, God is on the first place, but only when we really perceive Him as such safe person and an empathic listener and comforter. So I think this was on my heart. I wanted to
Yes.
say and deemed important. Yeah.
That's very
And
important.
now to your question. Yeah. To your question, there are a lot of things actually. That's why I wrote a whole book about this. Yeah. About the gains,
Yeah.
the spiritual gains
Mm,
actually that can be birthed through these painful experiences, and depression and hopelessness is one of the most painful experiences. And I just want here to say two things. One is really that when we speak about benefits, lessons, gains, we need to say that these are really, the majority of them are really spiritual, mainly spiritual. Of course, God sometimes is doing things, He's healing us emotionally, this for sure. And maybe He's also changing our circumstances, and we see this as a blessing, and He um, m- makes and shifts things to reach more people, perhaps.
mm,
But the most important thing is really this testing of our faith, testing of our character, and this invitation to grow in realms and in levels that are actually not possible on the bright side of the day. This is not possible during the day. It's not
mm.
possible during the sunshine when everything is feels good. We are at
Yeah.
ease. Life is comfortable. This is simply not possible. And I think this for me was the greatest gain. And uh, I'm simply now. Experiencing more fully, if I can say this in one sentence, I'm experiencing more fully the reality of who God is, not according to my expectations and ideas, but more of really who He is. And I think this is the greatest gift ever,
Yeah.
ever, because He is the ultimate reality, and we are all heading this ultimate reality. This is our journey, our destination.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. I love that. Um, our time is running up and I'm like, we could talk so much more. You have so much more to
Yes.
say. And there's so many, and obviously like there's a lot more of your story and I will put all your links in the show notes. So if people want to read your book or your books and all the things, find
Yes.
those, they can find them there. Because there sounds like there's so much more, we're just barely hitting the surface.
Mhm.
But it's such an important topic, and the things that have been shared
Yes.
already are so, so important and so good to just even reminders, even if it's things we already knew or we have heard
Yes.
before, just to remind ourselves like feeling this way is a normal human experience. It's what you do with it. It's
Yes.
how you take back that trust and God's faithfulness and
Exactly.
stick to Him, and draw closer to Him
Exactly.
through that. And so as we're wrapping up, if there is somebody listening who might be
Mhm.
in a bout of depression, who might just be in a very dark place, struggling, what would be something that you would say to them as an encouragement when you don't feel like you see a way out or you don't feel like there is any hope?
Yes, I would say two things to remember. The first very important thing is resist the temptation, because this is the temptation to bail, to give
Yeah.
up, to give in, to despair. Remembering that pain is not eternal, it's temporal, and something extraordinary is waiting on the other side. This is the first thing. You have the choice: give up or go up.
Mhm.
Choose this, go up, because it's really worth. And second thing is what I already said: you don't need to understand
Mm.
to trust Him. You don't need, you can trust Him without understanding. So I think I would leave the listeners with these two takeaways, because these are the things that help me a lot in my journey.
Yeah, those are great things to leave with is to go up, not give
Yes.
up, and it's okay that you don't understand. and you may not
Yes,
understand, but
it's
God is
okay.
always there and he's always faithful. So what
Yes.
better way to just kind of wrap up this episode? I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Time zones across, like I said, I think before we started, I was like, I think you're my furthest
Yeah.
guest I've ever had, which is amazing. So now we're going to see how much further we can get. I don't know, but I'm so thankful for you taking time out of your day to just share some of those insights and share some things that have been a part of your story to help somebody else, because that's what we're here for, to help others just know they're not alone.
Absolutely. This is just an honor and joy and privilege to help and to be here with you on this podcast. Really an amazing joy. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Real Talk with Megan. Remember, you are not alone. Seeking help is a sign of strength, and taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. We'll see you next time for more honest conversations.